Hello. Enjoy the story. As I pulled into our driveway, I noticed an unfamiliar black Mercedes parked across the street. Didn't think much of it at first, probably just someone visiting the neighbors. The house was quiet when I entered, but I heard muffled voices coming from upstairs. I called out Emma's name, but there was no response. The voices suddenly stopped. That's when I heard rushed movements and whispers. My heart started racing as I climbed the stairs. Before I could reach the top, Emma appeared in the hallway, wearing her silk robe, her face flushed. "Ryan, you're home early." Her voice was high-pitched, nervous. "Is someone here?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "No, I was just on a work call," she stammered, blocking the hallway. That's when I heard it, the distinct sound of our bedroom window opening. I pushed past Emma, ignoring her protests, and burst into our bedroom just in time to see a man climbing out onto the roof of our back porch. "Tyler, wait!" Emma cried out, forgetting her previous denial. Tyler. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. Tyler Williams, Emma's business mentor, who'd been helping her with her new company for the past few months. All those late-night strategy sessions and weekend workshops suddenly made perfect sense. I stood there watching this man, this colleague she'd sworn was just a friend, scrambling down our porch like a teenager sneaking out after curfew. It would have been comical if it wasn't so devastating. "Ryan, please, I can explain," Emma began, tears forming in her eyes. "It's not what you think." "How long?" I cut her off, my voice surprisingly steady. "What? How long has this been going on?" She hesitated, wringing her hands. It just happened." "Don't lie to me, Emma. Not now." After a long pause, she whispered, For months. While I was working overtime to help fund her business dreams, she was sleeping with her mentor. While I was bragging to our friends about my ambitious, entrepreneurial wife, she was making a fool of me." "Get out," I said quietly. "What?" "Pack a bag and get out. Now." "Ryan, please, we can work this out. I made a mistake." "A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill or burning dinner. Sleeping with another man in our bed for 4 months is a choice. Multiple choices, actually. Every time you lied about working late. Every time you kissed me goodbye knowing you were going to meet him. Those were all choices." She started sobbing, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no anger, just a cold, clear certainty about what needed to happen next. "You have 30 minutes to pack your things and leave. Whatever you don't take now goes to Goodwill tomorrow." "This is my house too," she protested, her sadness suddenly turning to indignation. I laughed humorlessly. "You mean the house my parents helped us buy? The house that's in my name because your credit was too poor to qualify for the mortgage? That house." Her face fell as reality set in. I watched her grab a suitcase and start throwing clothes into it, mascara running down her cheeks. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to hold her and tell her we could fix this. But that part was getting smaller by the second, being replaced by something harder, colder. I took out my phone and started making calls. First to my lawyer, then to a locksmith. By the time Emma finished packing, the locksmith was already on his way. "Where am I supposed to go?" she asked, standing in our doorway with her suitcase. "Why don't you call Tyler? I'm sure his Mercedes has plenty of trunk space." As I closed the door on her tear-stained face, I felt nothing but resolve. The real work was about to begin. The next few days passed in a blur of calculated actions. While Emma bombarded my phone with texts and calls, I was busy dismantling the life we'd built together. Her betrayal had flipped a switch inside me. Where there was once love and trust, now there was only cold determination. I learned more about Tyler Williams than he probably knew about himself. He wasn't just Emma's mentor. He was a serial predator who made a habit of sleeping with his female clients. His business coaching was just a front for targeting vulnerable women trying to start their own companies. The worst part? He was married with 3 kids. Emma's texts shifted from desperate apologies to angry accusations. "You're being cruel," she wrote. "We need to talk about this like adults." Then, "You can't just throw away 6 years of marriage." Finally, "Tyler says I can stay with him until we sort this out." That last message made me laugh out loud. Poor Emma had no idea what was coming. I spent Wednesday morning transferring our joint accounts into my name, only accounts that were mainly funded by my salary anyway. By afternoon, I was meeting with my lawyer, Andrew, who happened to be my best friend from college. "She's not going to know what hit her," Andrew said, reviewing the documentation I'd brought. "The house is in your name, the accounts were primarily funded by you, and you have evidence of her infidelity. In a no-fault state like ours, the cheating doesn't matter legally, but it sure helps with the narrative if this gets messy." Thursday morning, I got a call from Emma's sister, Nicole. "Ryan, you need to give her a chance to explain," she pleaded. "She's a mess. She made a mistake, but she loves you. Did she tell you she's been sleeping with a married man for 4 months?" I asked calmly. "Did she mention she's staying at his house right now?" Silence on the other end. "Then, what? Ask her about Tyler's wife and kids, Nicole. Ask her if she feels good about destroying another woman's family along with her own marriage." I hung up, knowing Nicole would be making another call right after to Emma. The dominoes were starting to fall. By Friday, things got interesting. I received a hysterical call from Emma around midnight. "Tyler's wife showed up at his house," she screamed. "She called me a homewrecker in front of everyone. How could you do this to me?" "I didn't do anything," I replied truthfully. "But it seems like karma's working overtime this week. She kicked him out. He's blaming me, saying I ruined his life. Where am I supposed to go now?" "Not my problem anymore, Emma. You made your bed, several beds, actually. Now you get to lie in them." The weekend brought more surprises. Emma's interior design clients started canceling contracts left and right. Apparently, sleeping with your married business coach isn't great for your professional reputation in our conservative suburb. Who knew? She showed up at our house Sunday morning, makeup smeared, wearing the same clothes I'd last seen her in. "Please," she begged through the new security door I'd installed. "I have nowhere else to go. My sister won't take me in, my parents are furious, and Tyler says he needs space to fix things with his wife." I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd loved for 6 years, who I'd planned to have children with, who I'd trusted with everything. Now she was a stranger, and not a particularly likable one. "There's a Motel 6 off Highway 75, I said. "I hear they have weekly rates." As I closed the door on her Sabrak frame for the second time that week, I felt the first stirring of satisfaction. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. The real revenge was still to come, and it would make these first few days look like a warm-up act. Because what Emma didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I had something that would destroy not just her relationship with Tyler, but her entire carefully constructed image of herself as the victim in all this. And on Monday morning, everyone would know too. Monday morning arrived with the weight of anticipation. I'd barely slept, my mind racing with the knowledge of what was about to unfold. The thing about Emma that few people knew was that her carefully cultivated image of a successful businesswoman was built on lies that went far beyond her affair with Tyler. I sat at my kitchen table, drinking coffee and watching the sunrise, when my phone buzzed with a text from Nicole. "We need to talk. Now." I called her immediately. "What's wrong?" "Emma. She's been lying about everything." Nicole's voice cracked. "I went through her business records trying to help her salvage what's left of her company, and Ryan, there is no company. It's all fake." "I know," I said quietly. "The clients she claimed to have, the projects she posted on Instagram, the revenue reports she showed everyone, all fabricated. She's been burning through your savings for months, pretending to build a business while actually spending my money on hotel rooms with Tyler." I finished for her. "I found out last week when I went through our accounts." The silence on the other end was deafening. Finally, Nicole spoke again, her voice heavy with disbelief. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because today's the day her loan application gets processed at Central Bank. The one where she forged my signature as a guarantor. The one where she claimed her business made $300,000 last year." "Oh God," Nicole whispered. "That's bank fraud." "Yes, it is. And in about 2 hours, the bank's fraud department will be notified. I've already provided them with proof that my signature was forged. I heard Nicole take a sharp breath. Ryan, that could mean jail time. I know. Another pause. She's my sister, but she deserves this. All of it. After hanging up, I checked my email. Sure enough, there was a message from the bank requesting an urgent meeting regarding irregularities in Emma's loan application. I forwarded it to my lawyer with a simple message. It's starting. By noon, my phone was blowing up. Emma had been escorted from the bank by security. Tyler, attempting to distance himself from the situation, had publicly denounced her on social media, claiming she had manipulated and lied to him too. Her carefully constructed house of cards was collapsing spectacularly. Then came the text from Emma that made my blood run cold. I'm coming over. You did this to me, and we're going to talk about it. I was ready when she pulled into the driveway 20 minutes later. Her expensive SUV, bought with my money, maintained with my money, screeched to a halt behind my car. She stormed up to the door, mascara streaked down her face, designer handbags swinging wildly as she pounded on the security door. Open this door, Ryan. You ruined my life. You ruined everything. I stood on the other side, phone recording every moment. The police are already on their way, Emma. I suggest you leave. You think you can just destroy me like this? I'll tell everyone what you did. I'll tell them you abused me, that you drove me to Tyler. I smiled, though she couldn't see it through the security door. You mean like the abuse claims you tried to file last year when I questioned those strange charges on our credit card? The ones the police dismissed because of our security camera footage showing you throwing things at me? She stopped pounding, her face going pale. How did you? I found the dismissed police report when I was gathering evidence for the bank. Funny how you forgot about that failed attempt to set me up. Just like you forgot about the security cameras that caught you bringing Tyler into our house all those times I was supposedly working late. In the distance, I could hear police sirens. Emma heard them too, her eyes widening with fear. One more thing, I said, my voice perfectly calm. Check your email. I just forwarded you some interesting correspondence between Tyler and his wife. Turns out he's been recording your encounters as insurance against exactly this type of situation. He sent the videos to her as proof that you were the aggressor in your relationship. She sent them to me this morning. Emma's face crumpled as the realization hit her. She wasn't just facing bank fraud charges now. Her entire private life was about to become very, very public. The police cruiser turned onto our street just as Emma stumbled back to her car, her legs barely supporting her. As she peeled out of the driveway, I couldn't help but think that this was just the beginning. The charges would be filed tomorrow, and then the real fallout would begin. I felt no joy, no satisfaction, just a cold certainty that justice was finally being served. Emma had chosen to destroy our marriage, but I had chosen to destroy her entire world in return. And I was just getting started. The next few days unfolded like scenes from a movie I never wanted to star in. Emma's arrest made the local news, not because of the affair, but because her fraudulent business scheme had affected more people than I initially realized. Turns out, she'd been taking deposits from potential clients, promising high-end interior design services that she never intended to deliver. I sat in our home office, scrolling through emails from strangers sharing their stories about how Emma had scammed them. Each message felt like another twist of the knife. Not because I still loved her, but because I wondered how I could have been so blind to who she really was. Tyler's wife Rebecca reached out to me on Wednesday. She wanted to meet for coffee, saying there were things I needed to know. I agreed, more out of curiosity than anything else. She tried to blackmail him, Rebecca said, stirring her latte absently. That's why he recorded everything. Emma threatened to tell me about their affair unless he invested in her business. She made air quotes around the word business with visible disdain. When did this start? I asked. According to the timestamps on their messages, about 2 months ago. That's when her fake business started falling apart. She needed real money to keep up appearances. Rebecca paused, then added, Tyler's a bastard, but he's not stupid. He knew she was unstable. I laughed humorlessly. Unstable enough to sleep with, though. Rebecca's eyes hardened. Oh, don't worry. He's being served divorce papers tomorrow. I just wanted you to know. She was planning to leave you anyway. There were messages about it. She was just waiting to secure enough money first. That night, Emma's mother called. The woman who'd once treated me like a son now sounded decades older, her voice heavy with shame and grief. She's asking us to bail her out, she said quietly. We remortgaged our house to help with her legal fees. But, Ryan, there's something else you should know. My heart sank. What is it? Remember when she said she was visiting her cousin Amy in Seattle last year? She was actually in Reno with Tyler. They got married. The phone nearly slipped from my hand. What? It was invalid, of course bigamy is illegal. But she actually went through with a ceremony. There are pictures. Tyler's wife found them and sent them to us. I don't know who my daughter is anymore. I ended the call and sat in the dark, letting this new information wash over me. Emma hadn't just cheated. She tried to create a whole new life while maintaining the facade of our marriage. The depth of her deception was staggering. The next morning, I got a call from the county jail. Emma's voice was small, broken. Ryan, I know you probably hate me, but please, help me. Just this once. I'll tell you everything. There's nothing left to tell, Emma. I know about the wedding in Reno. Her sharp intake of breath was audible even through the poor connection. How? It doesn't matter how. What matters is that while you were playing house with Tyler, you were also committing federal crimes. Bigamy, fraud, theft. I wonder what else we'll find as the investigation continues. Please, she whispered. I'll lose everything. You already lost everything, I replied. You lost it the moment you decided to destroy not just our marriage, but the lives of everyone who trusted you. The woman I married never existed. She was just another one of your cons. She started to say something else, but I hung up. Through my office window, I could see her parents pulling into my driveway. They looked aged, defeated. They were here to collect her things, what was left of them anyway. Most of her designer clothes and bags had already been seized as evidence in the fraud investigation. I let them in, watching silently as they packed up the remnants of their daughter's life. Her mother paused at a photo of our wedding day, tears streaming down her face. We failed her somehow, she murmured. I shook my head. No. Emma failed herself. After they left, I sat down at my computer and opened a file I'd been working on. It was time for the final phase of my plan, the one that would ensure Emma understood exactly what it meant to lose everything, just as she'd made me lose everything I thought I had. Because what she didn't know was that I'd discovered something else, something that would make all her current legal troubles look like a minor inconvenience. And tomorrow everyone would know about that too. Friday morning dawned clear and cold, matching the ice in my veins as I prepared to execute the final phase of my plan. While going through Emma's papers, I discovered something that even she had forgotten about, a trust fund set up by her grandmother, accessible only while Emma remained married to her first husband, me. The fund contained close to $2 million, carefully managed by her grandmother's estate lawyers. Emma had been drawing from it quietly for years, using it to fund her lavish lifestyle while pretending her non-existent business was thriving. Her grandmother had been shrewd enough to include a morality clause. If Emma ever divorced or committed certain crimes, the money would go to charity. I'd sent all the documentation about Emma's fraud, bigamy, and arrest to the trust administrators yesterday. Their response came this morning. The trust was being dissolved, effective immediately, with all funds transferring to a children's hospital. My phone rang at 9 a.m. Emma's lawyer. Mr. Harrison, he began cautiously. Your wife is willing to negotiate. Ex-wife, I corrected. And there's nothing to negotiate. She's willing to confess to everything, take full responsibility for the fraud. She'll sign whatever divorce terms you want. She just asks that you don't. Don't what? Don't tell the trust administrators about her crimes? Too late. Check your email. There was a long pause, then the sound of typing. Oh God, he muttered. When did you? Yesterday. The transfer should be complete by noon. $2 million gone. Just like that. The lawyer cleared his throat. Mr. Harrison, surely we can. We can what? Help her steal more money? Hide more crimes? No, I don't think we can. Good day, counselor. I hung up and waited. 3, 2, 1. My phone exploded with messages. First from Emma. You bastard. That was my inheritance. Then from her mother. Ryan, please, that money was all she had left. From Tyler. You've made your point. Call off the trust lawyers. I responded to none of them. Instead, I forwarded Tyler's message to his wife's attorney, more evidence for her divorce proceedings. Then I sent Emma's threatening message to her bail bondsman. Threatening communication was a violation of her bail conditions. By afternoon, Emma's bail had been revoked. She was back in custody, facing additional charges. Tyler was being sued by his wife for everything he was worth. Emma's parents had lost their house trying to help her. The house of cards hadn't just collapsed, it had burned to the ground. I sat in my home office, looking at our wedding photo one last time before taking it down. The woman smiling back at me had never really existed. She'd been a construct, a character played by someone I never truly knew. My doorbell rang. It was Nicole, Emma's sister, looking exhausted. They took her back to jail, she said quietly. I know. The trust fund. That was cruel, Ryan. I met her gaze steadily. Crueler than stealing from innocent people? Crueler than destroying multiple families? Crueler than making a mockery of marriage vows twice? She looked away. I just came to say goodbye. I'm moving, changing my name too. I can't be associated with this anymore. I nodded. I understand. As Nicole walked away, her shoulders slumped in defeat, I felt the last piece of my old life dissolve. Emma had chosen to destroy our marriage for excitement, for greed, for the thrill of deception. In return, I'd chosen to destroy her entire world, not out of passion or anger, but with the same cold calculation she'd shown while betraying everyone who loved her. The final email from my lawyer arrived just as the sun was setting. Divorce granted. Emergency petition approved due to criminal charges and bigamy evidence. You're officially free. I closed my laptop, poured myself a whiskey, and watched the last light fade from the sky. Emma would spend years in prison for her crimes. Tyler would lose everything in his divorce. Their perfectly planned new life had crumbled into dust, leaving nothing but wreckage behind. Some might call it karma. I called it justice. I raised my glass to the empty room, not in celebration, but in acknowledgement of the end. Emma had taught me that love was just another word for vulnerability. Fine. I taught her that actions have consequences, and some prices are too high to pay. Tomorrow I would list the house for sale. Tonight, I would sleep soundly, knowing that the woman who thought she could play me for a fool had lost everything. Her freedom, her reputation, her money, her family, and her future. The game was over, and I had won. Thank you for listening the story to the end. Write your thoughts about it in the comments, and do not forget to subscribe. See you in the next videos. Bye. Thank you for listening.